In my old job, I made a mistake that could have very easily cost me my life.
I'm Amanda from Silsbee, Texas. Let's talk about that.
Good mythical morning.
Today's episode is brought to you by Smule, maker of the Magic Piano app.
We want to thank all of you who participated in the Dope Zebra Magic Piano cover contest. Amazing entries.
And we have a winner, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations to the man, the myth, the legend, Mike Burns.
Knick-knack, paddywhack, trying to wear some shoes for my boy who made this video, so don't look so confused. He wants a pickpocket, but he don't want to steal. He's afraid to look too desperate, just keeping it real.
Congratulations for getting Chuck Testa to make a cameo in your video and rapping, and for winning a pair of mythical shoes.
Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow on Good Mythical Morning, it is Bring a Friend to GMM. That means invite somebody.
Those are my favorite days.
When they watch it tomorrow with you, or separate from you, then you can get together and you can talk about it.
I read some comments about people bringing friends.
Bring a friend.
And their friends became more addicted to Good Mythical Morning than they were. That's what we need. We need people addicted to this. This is a good drug.
We want you to out-addict each other.
Are we licensed to give this kind of advice?
No, we take it all back.
Okay.
Yesterday,
we heard Link talk about his experience as an engineer. Well, little known fact, or actually it's pretty well known, we've talked about it many times. I was also an engineer.
We talked about that yesterday too. Civil engineer.
Yes, and I also got a job with a different firm. I didn't get a job with International Business Machines.
No.
I got a job at a place called Black & Veatch. Apparently these are two people who started a company at some point.
And one of the guys' names was Veatch.
Yeah, Mr. Veatch.
It's pretty cool.
Mr. Black, which sounds like a spy, and Mr. Veatch, which sounds like maybe a principal.
Or a civil engineer.
Mr. Veatch, please come to the boardroom or the cafeteria. Anyway, that's not really what this is about. It's about the fact that I was a civil engineer and we designed power plants. That's what our firm did. And I'm not talking about nuclear power plants. I'm talking about other types of things like hydrogen, natural gas, coal, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And I designed the underground systems for these. You know, there's a place... There's this huge power plant, maybe on 50 acres or whatever, and then there is water that needs to go from point A to point B. There's nitrogen that needs to get over there. There's all these different things. There's wastewater, and there's pipes. Big, small, big.
Okay.
And I have got to determine how to get these things.
And water's going through these pipes?
All kinds of things. I didn't really worry with what was going through them.
Really? You didn't have to know what was going through the pipe?
No, I had to know, but really what they were like, you need to get nitrogen or whatever it was. That's what I didn't even know. You need to get this material from here to here, and we want it to be as inexpensive as possible. So
Okay.
a little bit of crossover.
Sounds like a plumber to me.
Plumbers don't do that.
They lay pipe.
And so I had to get from point A to point B, and I had to do it in the most efficient and expensive way possible. And I'm not out on the construction site. I'm in a little cubicle in Cary, North Carolina.
You're drawing this.
This was only, several years ago, but even at the time, it was being done on a computer, but I was doing it by hand and then giving it to a guy who would make it on a computer.
So you didn't use AutoCAD.
No, I didn't
You
use
used
AutoCAD.
a pencil and paper?
A red pencil. It was like, when Rhett draws with a red pencil, you better listen. It was like, I had this big map, like the pictures or the maps or whatever. I'm totally embarrassing myself to any former engineers or any current engineers.
The picture? I don't know what was going through the pipes, but they gave me a picture and a red pen, and I just started drawing,
The subtext...
Hey, look, it's a tree.
The subtext of this story is that I was unqualified, okay? I got a good degree from NC State University. I made good grades, but then I kind of showed up and I was like, hey, man, how fast is your internet, And I don't want to be doing this for very long.
Yeah.
But
how fast?
I didn't do anything wrong. It's just I wasn't that efficient and I didn't care that much. But, I think I did a good job in getting things from point A to point B and drawing. And I wasn't drawing like trees. I was drawing them where the pipes went, and I was putting little elevations on them and what kind of fixture they needed on this pipe, that kind of thing. As you can imagine,
it sounds riveting.
This was the most boring thing that you could do with your life. Well, okay, no, I don't mean to demean other engineers out there, but this was like an entry level.
For someone whose brain, let's be fair. For someone whose brain and desires and ambitions in life all lined up in a certain way. For you to be doing that particular type of profession was frustrating for you.
It was not a good fit for me because that did not engage my brain in the way that I wanted my brain to be engaged.
Mm-hmm.
So I only did it for a couple years. But there was one moment of great reward. And that was the time they said, Rhett.
Every day when you got to go to the bathroom.
That was very rewarding. And then lunch, and then breaks, and then home. Very,
I remember
rewarding.
I remember looking forward to lunch when I was an engineer. I would go to lunch at 11 a.m. every day because I just couldn't wait.
Well, you'd also come in at like 6 a.m.
Oh. That wasn't it? Your most rewarding experience?
No, they said, we're going to send you on a trip. We're going to fly you to Alabama.
A field trip.
And you're going to get to go to the construction site, and you're going to get to see the construction in progress. You're going to get to see what you designed becoming a reality. I was like, no, this is cool. Sign me up. I got on the plane and went down there by myself.
The fruits of your labor.
Yeah. And I'm just like a year out of college. I'm like 22 years old. Probably the first time I ever flew by myself. I'm on a plane by myself. I get the rental car, and they're like, you're not even really old enough to rent a rental car. I don't even know how I did it. I didn't steal it. And I'm driving through the middle of nowhere, Alabama, and I come up on the construction site. And I pull in, and I go, there's like these little construction trailers. But as I'm walking to the trailer, I look.
Now, how big, this is a power plant.
50 acres.
This is a big deal.
I mean, I'm just like looking out over this huge just field, and there's all these people doing things. There's cranes, there's guys digging, there's guys setting things. They're putting all the stuff underground, the stuff that I designed.
They
with
had
my little red pencil.
They had blueprints with your red pencil on it?
No, it had been made into like a computer printout at that point.
Okay.
But it's almost like the man with the red pencil is here. Wow, he looks young. Did you,
Did you have the red pencil in your ear?
Yeah, no, I didn't. That would have been good. It would have been good to kind of, it's like anything that I did on that red pencil became reality. And I was seeing that in person.
Mm-hmm.
This was an exciting thing for a 22-year-old person to experience. To see all these like 45-year-old construction workers. Hey man, there's the guy who did this. They don't treat you like that though. They don't care about you at all. They're like, yeah, there's the engineer. He doesn't know anything about anything. But
you heard a lot of murmuring, like, red pen. It's got a red pencil.
Yeah.
I saw one, and it had a drawing of a red tree on it.
I was
He's really good at drawing a tree.
I was intimidated to show up as this young guy, and I was like, what do they think about me? I don't seem qualified. I did have on khakis, though, and I did have my shirt tucked in.
Oh,
just
good.
like you did.
A golf shirt?
Golf shirt, khakis.
Good.
Oh, and boots. I wore work boots because I'm going to a construction site.
Steel toe?
Yeah, you had to have steel toe boots, and I had those on. I had on my Timberlands. Not really.
Timberlands don't have steel toes.
I don't know. They weren't Timberlands. They were just like Walmart boot issue.
Hmm.
So,
was it a mechanical pencil or?
Let me get to
did
the
you have
details,
to shave it?
Because I made a fool of myself. I go to the trailer and I meet the head engineer, and he's like, well, you want to take a tour of the site? And I was like, well, sure. He said, well, you just go on out there and walk around and introduce yourself. So
that was his tour. Just go out there and introduce yourself. Would you like to take a tour? We'll go out there and walk around.
He meant like a self-guided tour. Okay. I didn't know at the time, but that's what he meant.
You were looking for the tram.
So I go out there in my, I picture myself in a pink shirt because that's how inadequate I felt I just picture myself in a pink shirt and like capri pants, walking amongst construction workers because I'm this 22-year-old guy I've got more of an education than these guys, but who are actually building this stuff, but they know a whole lot more about it than I do. And there's probably a little resentment. I'm getting more money than they are already.
Yeah.
And and it's just like, and so I'm walking out there and I'm really, really insecure and real self-conscious, and I'm walking around. And then I'm like walking by, I'm like kind of waving. They're kind of like looking at me, and they're all kind of looking at me like,
waving at them.
What is this guy thinking? And
never wave at a construction worker like this.
No, I was doing sort of the nod. I was like,
the
nod and the point, I was trying to fit in.
Frat guy.
But again, I've got my pink shirt and my capri pants on, figuratively. Then I see the foreman, and he's kind of like in the middle, and he's like working on something. He's like sitting on the edge of a pit, and there's all these dudes down in there with this big pipe. And he looks at me, and he's like, points at his head like that. And I'm like, I'm thinking he means like, oh, here's the guy with the brains. Look, the guy with the brains has showed up. The guy with the red pencil's here.
Yeah.
And so then he looks again. He's like,
would you like Parmesan with that?
I don't know.
My jacket?
And so
H&M.
And so, and then I notice he is saying something. And then he's like, then I've stopped, and now I'm officially interacting with him.
Yeah.
And he's like 50 yards away. He's like, hard hat! Get a hard hat! And then I look around and realize that not only am I the man in the figurative pink shirt and capri pants, I'm the only person on the scene without a hard hat.
So you understood what he said. It wasn't like, yeah, I'm all that. Got the brain.
I got it. And then, of course, because he had to yell it several times, everybody's person on there is like, look at the new engineer.
Hard hat. He ain't got no hard hat.
They didn't actually start. They didn't start a chant. Now that would have been really embarrassing. So I sheepishly walk back to the trailer, and I go in there and I say to the head engineer, I'm like, "Can I get a hard hat?" And so then
he's like, "You didn't bring your own hard hat."
There's nothing stupider than not having a hard hat, other than putting on a hard hat and walking back out there. And the only thing different now is that you have the hard hat on, and now you kind of feel like a complete moron. So anyway, the moral of the story, I guess, is wear a hard hat on construction sites.
And something tells me that you don't look that awesome wearing a hard hat anyway.
I don't look good in a hat. Let's spin the wheel.
Gosh.
New job, you're going to make mistakes. That's the way it goes. If you're in your new job, your first year of your new job, and you make a mistake, don't sweat it.
And also, don't forget the hard hat either. How are we going to end this show, Rhett?
Well, we are going to. Link tells Rhett a bedtime story.
Okay, this is a new addition to the wheel.
Did I look like it?
Okay, Rhett, lay your little head down. It's time for a bedtime story. Once upon a time, there was a little boy named Rhett. And he wanted to be an engineer when he grew up.
That's me.
So he went out in his backyard with a red pencil,
Yeah.
and he drew on everything that he could find.
And then I met a dragon.
And then a dragon showed up
Yeah.
and said,
And I got to ride on him.
no, he said, I'm gonna eat you because you're not wearing your hard hat. And then he ate the little boy named Rhett, and then he digested him, and he pooped him out, and he was asleep.
I'm gonna have nightmares.
Thanks for joining us today. Have sweet dreams, everybody.